what did Muhammad look like? If you're listening to Yasir Qadhi, you'd get the idea that Muhammad was beautiful.
So the prophets, as a general rule, are all handsome in nature. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the most handsome and the most jamal of the entire creation. He has the greatest jamal of the whole creation. Ar-Rubayy binti Muawwidh, one of the Sahabiyat, when her son asked her, what was the Prophet ﷺ like? All she could say was, Ya bunay, oh my dear son, if you were to have seen him, you would have thought that the sun had risen up. That's all he could describe. I don't know how to describe it to you. If you were to have seen him, you would have thought that the sun has now risen up. This is the rising sun. They couldn't describe how handsome he was because it was too much for them.
As I started listening to this, I couldn't help asking myself, are these people exaggerating? And if so, what might motivate them to exaggerate?
Ka'b ibn Malik describes him as a moon. That he said that whenever the Prophet ﷺ was happy, his face would light up as if it was the full moon. They couldn't describe how handsome he was because it was too much for them.
It's hard to imagine, just neutrally speaking, that his smile is as beautiful as a moon. You go, okay, well, what's motivating these people? Is it really they're seeing him and he's so beautiful? Or is it something else? He kills a bunch of people who make fun of him. Whenever there's a poet who makes fun of him, he has them killed. One of these is Abu Afaq. So Abu Afaq has a friend named Harith bin Suwaid, something like that. And Muhammad kills Harith, and it makes Abu Afaq angry. And so he doesn't threaten Muhammad. He doesn't attack Muhammad. All he does is write a mean poem about him. He writes a mean poem about Muhammad that hurts Muhammad's feelings. What does Muhammad do in retaliation? He has him killed. He kills him. Abu Afaq writes some words, and Muhammad has him killed. Quote, the apostle said, who will deal with this rascal for me? Whereupon Salim bin Umayr, brother of bin Amir bin Auf, one of the weepers, went forth and killed him. So what does he do with a guy who makes fun of him in a poem? He has him killed. He kills him. And then in retaliation for this, another woman writes a poem about Muhammad, and then he has her killed. And then we can read in the Sirat that all of the other poets are running away from him because he's having them all killed for making fun of him. So if this is a guy who, if you just say the wrong thing, you get killed, how seriously are you going to take someone saying that he looks pretty? Right? This is like Kim Jong-un having people tell him how beautiful he is and how great he is. And as if this weren't clear, there's more examples of this. The day after Bint Marwan was killed, the men of Bin Khatma became Muslims because they saw the power of Islam. Notice this isn't because of some logical, intelligent argument. It's not because of evidence. It's because they're scared out of their wits. Just like I think most Muslims are today, especially if they start poking at their own religion and start seeing all the holes. I mean, sometimes I wonder if Yasir Qadhi really believes what he's saying. You really believe what you're saying here? Especially after his holes in the narrative interview? But if he gets out of line, he's going to get killed. The apostle had killed some of the men in Mecca who had satirized and insulted him. The Quraysh poets who were left, Ibn al-Zibra and Hubayra bin Abu Wab, had fled in all directions. Anyone who critiques him has to run away. The people who remain are talking about how beautiful he is, because anyone who says anything out of line gets killed. That's no way to live. Human mind, human consciousness, we weren't made to live in fear all the time. And we can see some descriptions of how he looks from these earliest sources. So, for example, let's look at Sahih al-Bukhari. The face of the Prophet was wounded, and one of his front teeth was broken, and the helmet over his head was smashed. So when he smiles, it looks like the moon, but also he's missing teeth. See, which sounds more believable? That he's missing teeth, or that when he smiles it's like a full moon? And we also know not just that his teeth were busted out, but he was overweight. And we get this from Sirat Rasulullah. Talha, who is at the Battle of Uhud, which is the battle where Muhammad loses his teeth, he helps Muhammad onto a rock. And this is what it says in that battle. Muhammad had, quote, had become heavy by reason of his age. So he's overweight, his teeth are all busted out, and somehow his smile is as beautiful as the moon, but this is coming from a guy who kills anyone who makes fun of him.